Hello friends, welcome to the video series. Welcome back. Uh, Last episode we went through all our feedbacks that we had for the application, and since we are done with these now, we can concentrate more about the other feedbacks or other features that I had planned for in this document in the Excel sheet. So right now, the last thing we did was we renamed our application from StingyHubby to Pennywise. So on the UI side, it's all Pennywise. In the backend, I'm still using the StingyHubby name. So that's something maybe in the future I might change. So for now, let's look at the features that we look at. We have this feature that is unsubscribe opt out when add a wants digest column in users and filter before sending. So for now we have to check the preferences. So in the preferences we have a wants email digest. We have an email digest column and it is set to true. So for every user we will have a wants digest. Okay, that is set to false on the user level, and in the preferences we have email digest and that is set for true for all the users. So now we look at the code. So go to the code, and within the code when we go to the let's go to those batch jobs that we have created. I think we would be able to reach it sometime. So it's in the API. So senddigest.ts, that's the batch job we created. Now if you look at the query that we pass, there is first a database query that we run for to get the user and the associated users and their. So wants digest is set to true. So here in this query we see that it's looking for all the users who have those want digest is equal to true. Now want digest is in the preferences. This is the users. From users we would want to email name and want digest. So want digest is in the users and it is false for certain people, it is true for the rest of them. And so I think that will filter out the users. Now I would want to have this is currently this is currently I would want to change this outlook. What I would want to do is when a person logs in into the application, um, we go to the user. Let's see what's going on there. In the preferences I would want to have one more checkbox for weekly emails, and that checkbox will be saved in the preference. And in the preference I would have the wants digest. Right now it's in the users. I would want to change it to preferences, and then he for a given user I would go to the users preferences and then try to get the email digest from that page. So let's get that running here. So we go to StingyHubby. The last time we created a banner here. Now we can try to get the unsubscribe opt out, add a wants digest column in users and filter before sending. So we can rename this to let me think about it. Add a checkbox in user preference page which will toggle true or false in preferences table for the user. And then when we are sending emails filter users based on value in this add a checkbox. Actually our checkbox will be wants email or email digest, email weekly digest. Let me rename this as email weekly digest. So let me edit this column, name it email weekly, because I think in the future we might be looking into monthly. So let's see, email weekly digest, and we save this column and it gets saved. So now we have email weekly digest over here in the preferences. And then we would add I would tell ChatGPT add a checkbox for email weekly digest in user preference page that will toggle true or false for email weekly digest column in preference table for the user. When we are sending emails, filter users based on the value in the column. So let's see what ChatGPT has to say about it. I think it's a decent start. Let's see what we will need to do. Perfect. You need to add a checkbox in the preference page. Update preference dot email weekly digest for the logged in user. Update your email sender function. Filter only users with preference email weekly digest is equal to true. Now this is the preference page that we have. So let's copy this and let's see what changes does it create. So let's go to the preference pages. Yeah, preference page is here. It looks shorter. I think we might have to do some changes later on. So this one is basically removing a lot of graph and stuff. Okay, I think this are lot many changes which I wouldn't want. So let me do a control C, copy this page, and we'll give it to ChatGPT on this. Let's see, my preference page is, and then we paste it over here. So now ChatGPT knows what is there on the preference page. It will take some time to think about it. Yeah, it's a full preference page. Now it has given us the update preference page. Let's copy this and let's paste it over here. Now we look at the changes. So here there are some changes. We have added weekly digest. So preferences page, and then over here we would have the loading preferences error message, and then we would have a set email weekly digest false, and then Supabase, and then graph G. Okay, this hasn't completed, so we'll go back to GPT. Now we'll copy it because now the whole page is complete. Now let's take this guy, Ctrl A, Ctrl V, and no changes detected or no issues detected. Here we see now that this is more legible. The email weekly digest set email, so we within the state we have the set email weekly digest, and then we also did some error handling here. If we have an error or error code not equal to pgrst116, error loading preferences. So this is the error message that will give us the preferences for this user, and then over here we would add one more, set email weekly digest, which is initially if there is a value on the checkbox then it is true, otherwise it is false. And then below we would have the supabase, the query to the supabase added here, so we would have that one here. And then email weekly digest is going to be the value that comes on from the preferences, and here is the upsert. You can see this is the update or insert statement that we have, and we would pass in the weekly digest value. And then on conflict user ID, so it will be based on the user ID, otherwise we will get an error. We will have an icon here, cross icon, failed to save preferences, otherwise we'll have a checkbox, preferences saved. So I think this one for now is a checkbox. Yeah, I can see a checkbox here, and then we can do the set email weekly digest logic over here. Now in this, I think this is good enough. Let me added email weekly digest checkbox in on preference page. Okay, so I think this code should be okay for the addition of that field. So let's have it deployed. .28 seconds. Should be done by now. 29 seconds, and it's deployed. So now let's go back to refresh our page. Now you can see another email coming in, and this is the user preference. So right now in the database my email is checked, so let me uncheck it, and let me save the preference. Preference is saved. When I go to the database now, I let me refresh the database. This is the preferences. You will see a false against my user. I can also make it true again, so let me do that, and let me do this and save preferences, and then preferences saved. And let's go to the database. It's false right now. Let me refresh, become true again. And now one more thing we can check is I can log out, sign in, go to this capisgod@gmail, and then I go to the preferences page. I should be able to see the receive weekly email digest. Okay, that text looks good. I can save the preferences. It saves in the database. That is step 1 of our changes. Now I also want to do one more thing. I would want to update this one, send digest. So this one is not only users, but it is going to be preferences. So I would do is, let me copy this and let me give it to GPT, and we'll do this, and then we will say get filter, or I would say filter user based on value in let's get that table. That would be email weekly digest. Yeah, let me type it out. So would be email underscore weekly underscore digest column in preferences. Actually it's a small piece because it's a table, and that would be the preferences table. Okay, So now we have it. Let's run to ChatGPT. I think it's just a simple change in the query that we have. So looks like our query is being built up here. That's good. It's a big file, right? Yeah, key change is now from preferences, user from preferences, select user ID this, where email weekly digest is true. Yeah, this is the key change that we have done here. So now I can go and copy this and we can have it paste in the in this, and then that gives us the change. So let's, or actually let's do this. I think it did not determine the change, so copy this whole page and we go to control A, control V, and now we should be getting the send digest. So here this one became multi-line, no problem. Then here instead of the users we have from preferences, user ID email weekly digest is equal to true, and then pref user, we are getting the user from the preference dot user, and then continue. Not, we didn't get the user, then we continue, otherwise we will continue with it. And here on, instead of a single line, we are you putting into it multiple lines. And here the chart, I think it's just a matter of JSON stringify chart, and then in this we are mapping, and then expenses are in different line and background is there, and headers, and then here we go to short term, long term. User is no longer used here, so let's see. I think email, yeah, there are a few things like ID, user and email, because now the user is no longer part of this. So that the some of the changes look good, but we are seeing certain error messages. So let's close this guy. Send digest, we definitely need to make sure that everything is covered up. So here we can do a quick fix with Copilot. Let's see what Copilot has to say. Yeah, I'm back. So looks like it's going to check, get all the users from the preference, and every preference has one user, so 0 would make sense, so I accept it. And then later on below we have other error messages. So oh, we removed it because we got the user array. So I think that kind of clears everything. So let's look at the send digest again. Here we have in separate lines, makes sense. Comment, good. Then instead of users we are looking at preferences, and we're getting all the preferences. Then for every preference we are getting the user, and we are saving that as a user. And now that we have saved the user, all the associated fields are working. Then here multi-line, here we have encode URI component, JSON stringify, so that has been moved on top. Then here it's multiple lines instead of single. And then map, this is also multiple lines. Background color, the ordering changes, so instead of multiple lines, single line, you have multiple lines. And then over here we have just some space changes, and then a single space change here. again some formatting, and then below we have a return status 200, and then email digest successfully. So I think this change is good enough. We can updated email functionality to get filter based on email preference. Okay, so let me sync and commit. Now the next thing would be for us to go and get the deployment done, and we'll test it soon. 29. Yeah, we'll wait for that. Okay, we're ready. 26 seconds this time. I am going to uncheck this. I'm going to save that preference. So now in my database, the preference is false. We can see that. Now I'll go to the settings and we'll run the cron job. So let's run this. So now instead of that, instead of, I'll not get emails for gap is god. So let me wait for this one. I haven't received email, so mailbox, let's sync it up. Let me check. I haven't got the email, so let me check at the logs. There was an error, so it didn't send any emails because we had an error. So let's see. Error fetching users could not find a relationship between preferences and users in the schema cache. So let's copy this and send it across to our applications. So let's do this one. We need a foreign key, preferences to users, where we want to allow the user join, and we need to add a constraint, a foreign key constraint, where the user ID references the user's ID. So is that correct? The user ID here references to the user's ID. So I think that we do have a constraint here. Foreign key relation is there. Yeah, that's there. That's what ChatGPT is talking about. We need to have that. So Babes will recognize this relationship and your query will work as written. So I think that should work because we have a foreign key reference. I think it's a cache thing. So I would I would refresh the cache and let's try it out once more. Let's try it out. Settings, cron job, view logs, no, run, and view logs live. I think the cache hasn't refreshed, so we just have to wait for the cache to refresh. Yeah, I think it's the cache problem. I think, yeah, I think we need to just wait for the cache to refresh. So we can end this video right at this point, and we can hopefully by tomorrow, or like we'll give it some time for the cache to refresh, and so that this relationship which we already have in the system would take into effect, and then we would be able to query easily. If by next time we won't be able to find the have a problem, we'll have a debug session on this time. So based on that finding, I would put this one as a yellow, means in progress, and we'll address it tomorrow as well. So for now, thank you so much for being in the video, and hopefully like this we'll try to complete all the features that we have and get things done. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of the day. Please subscribe to the channel as well as visit the website if you can. Thank you.